Most travelers know Zimbabwe for one thing: Victoria Falls. But beyond one of the world's greatest waterfalls is a country filled with ancient kingdoms, untouched wilderness, enormous lakes, dramatic landscapes, and some of Africa's most underrated wildlife experiences. This is the Zimbabwe many travelers never expect. What people think Zimbabwe is. When people think of Zimbabwe, they usually picture Victoria Falls, the sound of rushing water, the mist rising above the landscape, and one of Africa's most famous natural wonders. And to be fair, that Zimbabwe absolutely exists. Victoria Falls is one of the most powerful and unforgettable places on Earth. But Zimbabwe isn't simply a waterfall destination. Travel beyond the famous viewpoints, and the country begins to change. The crowds become smaller. The landscapes open up. The roads stretch out into silence. And a completely different Zimbabwe appears. A place of ancient history, wild landscapes, quiet shorelines, and experiences many travelers never knew were here. Places that don't make the highlight reels, but stay with you long after you've left. Victoria Falls, the wonder everyone comes to see. For many visitors, Zimbabwe begins at Victoria Falls, and it's easy to understand why. Known locally as Mosi-oa-Tunya, the smoke that thunders. This is where the mighty Zambezi River suddenly disappears into a massive canyon. Before you even see the waterfall, you hear it. The constant roar. The low rumble carried on the air long before the edge comes into view. The power of millions of liters of water crashing below. And when the mist rises into the air, catching the light and forming rainbows across the gorge, you understand why this place has captured people's imagination for generations. It is not just a waterfall. It is a force, something that makes you feel very small and completely alive. But Zimbabwe's story does not end at the edge of the falls. Hwange, Zimbabwe's wild side. Not far from Victoria Falls, the landscape changes completely. The sound of water disappears, and the wilderness takes over. This is Hwange National Park, one of Africa's great wildlife destinations. A place covering thousands of square kilometers of open savanna, teak forest, and ancient grassland. Here, elephants move across huge open spaces, some of the largest elephant populations on the continent. Herds that stretch across the plains in numbers that feel almost impossible. Predators follow the movement of the herds. Lions rest in the afternoon shade. Wild dogs travel in tight packs through the dry bush. And during the dry season, when the water sources shrink, animals gather around the remaining pans, creating some of the most incredible wildlife scenes in southern Africa. Safari vehicles line up in stillness, cameras barely moving, because when you are watching something that extraordinary, you forget to take photographs. For many visitors, this becomes the Zimbabwe they never expected, the ancient kingdom hidden in stone. But Zimbabwe is not only a story of nature, it's also a story of civilization. Hidden among the hills of the south are the remains of one of Africa's most important ancient cities, Great Zimbabwe. Long before many people realize, a powerful kingdom existed here. A civilization that reached its height centuries before European contact. Massive stone walls were built without mortar, fitted together with extraordinary precision, block by block, by hands that understood something about permanence. Trade connections stretched across great distances, to the coast, to Arabia, to India. Gold moved through these walls. Power lived inside them, and the city became the center of a remarkable civilization. Walking through these ruins today, it is impossible not to feel the weight of what happened here. The scale of it, the ambition. Today, these ruins reveal a history far deeper than many travelers expect, and far older than most realize. Most visitors arrive in Zimbabwe knowing only one famous landmark. But the farther you travel, the more you discover a country filled with completely different worlds. If you enjoy discovering destinations beyond the obvious, this channel is built for that. Lake Kariba, the inland sea. One of Zimbabwe's greatest surprises is Lake Kariba, a place so large, it almost feels like an ocean. One of the biggest man-made lakes in the world, stretching across the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. and holding a silence that the rest of the country rarely offers. Here, the pace slows. Houseboats move across the water, unhurried, following the light. Wildlife appears along the shoreline, elephants wading into the shallows, hippos surfacing near the reeds, enormous tigerfish moving beneath the surface. And the sunsets are among the most beautiful in Africa, the sky turning through shades of orange and red and deep violet, reflecting off water so still it looks like glass. After waterfalls and open savanna, Lake Kariba reveals another side of Zimbabwe. Quiet, peaceful, and completely different. The landscapes few travelers know. Beyond the famous destinations, Zimbabwe continues to surprise. In Mosi-oa Hills, giant granite formations rise from the earth like ancient sculptures. Balanced boulders that seem to defy gravity. Landscapes unlike anywhere else on the continent. Ancient rock art tells stories from thousands of years ago, painted on stone by hands that lived here long before modern history began. Cecil Rhodes chose to be buried here. Looking out over the hills he called one of the world's views. And in the eastern highlands, the scenery changes again. Mountains, dense forests full of birdsong, waterfalls hidden behind walls of green. A cooler, quieter Zimbabwe. A Zimbabwe of mist and altitude. One that many visitors never imagine even exists. Because most people arrive expecting heat and dust and open plains, and find instead something that looks completely different. This is a country constantly changing its identity, culture, and everyday Zimbabwe. But Zimbabwe is not only remembered through its landscapes, it's also remembered through its people. Markets bring communities together, color and noise, and the smell of food cooking over open fires. Traditional skills continue through generations. Stone carving that has become internationally recognized. Basket weaving with patterns passed down through families. Music played on instruments that carry centuries of memory. And across the country, visitors find stories connected to history, family, and place. Warmth that doesn't feel performed. Conversations that go somewhere unexpected. The famous landmarks bring people here. But often, the human connections are what stay with them. Long after the photographs fade, long after the names of the parks are forgotten, what remains is a feeling of having been genuinely welcomed somewhere. Why travelers are discovering Zimbabwe. For years, Zimbabwe was overlooked by many travelers, passed over, misunderstood, reduced to headlines that had nothing to do with what the country actually held. But more people are beginning to discover what has always been here. A country where one journey can include one of Earth's greatest waterfalls, ancient cities built without mortar, wildlife-filled landscapes that rival anywhere on the continent, mountains and forests that feel like a different country entirely, and peaceful lakes that slow everything down. Many arrive because of Victoria Falls, but leave remembering everything else. The elephant herds at dusk, the silence of the ruins, the water of Lake Kariba catching the last light. Who this side of Zimbabwe is for. This side of Zimbabwe is for travelers who enjoy discovery, for people who look beyond the famous image, who arrive at a destination and then keep going, deeper into it, further from the viewpoints, further from the obvious, for those who want nature, history, wildlife, and culture together, not separated into different trips, but layered into one, because Zimbabwe cannot be explained by one landmark. It is too many things at once, and that is exactly what makes it unforgettable. Zimbabwe isn't simply the home of Victoria Falls. It's ancient kingdoms, powerful rivers, endless wilderness, dramatic landscapes, and stories that reach far beyond one famous wonder. It is a country that keeps revealing new versions of itself. The further you go, the more it gives. And once you explore beyond the waterfall, you realize Zimbabwe was never just one destination. It was many worlds hidden inside one country. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the tourist version. If you could experience one side of Zimbabwe, what would you choose? Victoria Falls, the wildlife, the ancient ruins, or Lake Kariba?